You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Glad you can be here on this Thursday with another episode of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day or night, evening, whenever you decide to listen. It's up to you. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor. Comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. If you're trying to reach me, go to any of the social media links you see in the description box. That's get in contact with the show for any comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and dive right into the topic. And I want to know, is Julio Jones still a valuable receiver? Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen the past couple of days, that the Atlanta Falcons, they're open to hearing trade offers for wide receiver Julio Jones. Now, Julio Jones is the Falcons' all-time leading receiver in catches with 848 and yards with over almost 12,896 yards. And his 60 touchdown catches rank him second behind Roddy White. Julio Jones has played his entire career in Atlanta since he was the number 6 overall pick in the 2011 draft. That's when the Falcons used 5 picks to trade up from number 27 to take him. Julio Jones, who was 32 years old, he led the NFL in receiving yards in 2015. I had no idea he led the league that year. Wow, it's a lot of yardage. Over 1,800 yards, and he led the league also in 2018, over 1,600 yards. My thing with Julio, though, is the guy's an amazing athlete, amazing receiver. He doesn't find the end zone, though, as much as you would like. The guy, I want to say he's only had double-digit touchdowns maybe once or twice in his career. You would think for a guy of his caliber, he will find the end zone a lot more than he does. I know that there were years where, don't quote me on this, but I think he's had seasons where he's had touchdown catches of maybe 3 or 5 in a season. Something like that. It's something crazy I've seen in his stat line before. And me as a Falcon fan, I'm what's crazy? I'm not that big of a Julio fan. It's crazy. I was more of a Roddy White guy, even though Roddy White had the Butterfingers when he was playing here with Michael Vick. I feel like there's something missing in Julio Jones' game. And it might be the touchdown thing. The guy definitely gets yardage. He's not a guy who's going to catch, who consistently is going to catch 100 catches a season. There are a lot of seasons he's only had 80 catches, but he puts up the yardage. And coming from Matt Ryan, this is where I don't like how the national media, they don't know what they're talking about when they're watching the Atlanta Falcons. They don't watch the Atlanta Falcons. I watch them every Sunday. It's my team. So a lot of those throws Matt Ryan is throwing, you have a lot of games where they're not going to Julio Jones. Matt Ryan is a guy they've always had help for him when it comes to receivers. Think about, they had Roddy White, Julio Jones, and Tony Gonzalez. He was sprinkling the ball around. Not to take nothing from Julio, because Julio is a beast. Julio gets his numbers. Julio gets his yardage. It's the touchdown thing that bothers me with Julio. Now, look, before all this even happened, I was saying that it's time to move on from Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. we've just never recovered from that Super Bowl loss against the Patriots. We all know it, the 28-3. We don't have to go down memory lane, but it's something with this organization that's been going down with it. And like I said, I've been saying it's time to start over in Atlanta. We haven't been the same since Shanahan left, and it turns out, in my opinion, he was the real brains behind that Super Bowl team. Now, if only Matt Ryan had decided to just, I'm going to ignore what Shanahan is saying, and as far as passing, I'm going to hand this ball off to Devontae Freeman and run this clock out on the Patriots. But again, we know what happened. Now, look, like I said, Julio is a monster. Julio is a beast. It's I don't even have to go into it. Like I said, I'm kind of just nitpicking, and that might just be me as a Falcon fan just venting frustration with this team, that we could be a lot better than we've been the past 3 seasons, and we just haven't. Julio Jones has some. He always, it's always something nagging him also with the injury bug. So he'll miss some games here, he'll miss some games there. And I don't recall him missing games like that during the Super Bowl run. So it could be one of those situations where, look, we're losing, I'm not going to go all out and injure myself. And some people don't like that in a player. I understand it. I'm not going to get mad at it. Just like recently, you saw Kevin Love from the Cavaliers. Recently, people were calling him out for giving up on a play and gave up a 3 on an inbound play, and they ended up losing the game. I get it. Kevin Love has given his soul to that Cavaliers team. They've traded everyone away from those championship teams but him, and he's left there suffering, and he's just sick of the losing. So I understand when guys kind of just feel frustrated and they're just over it. But look, Julio has plenty more football left in him. Other than the nagging injury, they're just little nagging things, and the touchdowns. Other than that, when he's healthy, the guy produces. I'm not gonna knock Julio. I wouldn't call him a number 1 receiver. I've heard people online saying he's probably the best receiver in football. I wouldn't call him a number 1. He's definitely top 3. He's top 3. I just wouldn't call him the number 1 receiver in the league. If this was going back to maybe the year after the Super Bowl, if this is going back then, before that, I can honestly see you saying, yeah, Julio is the top receiver in the league. Julio has a lot of like I said, he has a lot of tread left on that tire. I'm with the Falcons on this one. It's time to rebuild. Blow the whole thing up. Keeping Julio here, it does nothing for us. It's not like we're going to a Super Bowl. Reward Julio with letting him go out in style. If he chooses to retire in the near future, let him go to a team where he can get that ring that he lost. He didn't lose per se himself, but the ring that the Falcons lost to New England, that loss still bothers me, as you can probably tell by listening to me. At my job, I have a full-size Falcons helmet on my desk. I remember when that Super Bowl loss happened, I went into my job and I took the helmet off my desk. I put it under my desk. I didn't talk about the Super Bowl for an entire week. I didn't want to talk sports for an entire week. I don't think I went to any Hawks games that week. I'm a season ticket holder with the Atlanta Hawks, and I don't think I went to any Hawks game that week. It was a bad week sports-wise for us Atlanta people. But look, yes, Julio Jones is still a valuable piece in this league. He will definitely push some team over the top that needs it. So I have no problem with the Falcons listening to offers for Julio Jones. He is definitely a top 3 receiver still in this league. I mean, me still ranting. Is it Matt Ryan? Is Matt Ryan the problem? You know, I want to talk about Matt Ryan on another day. I won't get into that today. There's the whistle. The whistle's telling me, look, get off of this mic. Move on. All right, so I will get out of this Julio Jones situation and move on to this day in sports. April 29th, back in 1986 on this day, when the NFL draft happened, Auburn running back Bo Jackson, one of the best athletes of all time. He was the first pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if you've seen the 30 for 30, you don't know Bo that came out a couple years ago. Bo Jackson told Tampa Bay he will never play for you ever. After he was deemed, what happened? He was playing baseball at Auburn, and he went on an illegal trip or something like that. He went to go talk to the Buccaneers. They said that it was okay. It wouldn't mess with his baseball eligibility, and somehow it did. Word got back to Auburn that he took a trip down to Tampa, and he said he believed Tampa knew this so that he wouldn't play baseball and he would commit to football. And he didn't like the shady practices of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the day, and he said there will be no way he'll ever play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we know he wanted to play with the LA Raiders, and unfortunately his football career was cut short. Also on this day, back in 1987, a year after Bo was drafted, Chicago Cubs Andre Dawson hits for the cycle. For you kids out there that don't know what a cycle is, because it seems like kids just don't watch baseball, or they play baseball. I was at my son was playing baseball. Well, he's playing now. He's in season now, and it's kids out there, but they don't watch baseball though. But the cycles, when you pretty much do everything at the plate, you get a single, a double, a triple, and a home run. That's the cycle. All right, hey, look, that's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead, follow the podcast. If you're on the YouTube side of things, go ahead, comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Go to any of the social media pages that you see in the description box. That is to get in contact with the show for any comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.